Thank you for joining us. Our next conversation now. In the span of just 80 days, Nigeria has experienced a series of reforms, and key amongst them is the removal of subsidies and the unification of the exchange rate, which have ignited fervent debate across boardrooms, households, and streets alike amongst experts. These decisions have brought untold hardship for Nigerians and the economy in general, winning the initial enthusiasm amongst Nigerians for the new government, leaving the government to perhaps reconsider its decision aftermath of these policies. On our show today, we take a closer look at how the government is addressing the consequences of these policies, the impact of the NNPC's injection of $3 billion in the forex market, the battle against high inflation, and the strategies in place to safeguard the value of the naira. So let's get talking now. Viola Kwaga, senior analyst at Budget Foundation, joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Kwaga. We appreciate you for coming on board.
Thanks for having me, Frank. Good morning.
Yeah. So, good morning. So, let's get started with this one. If you look at President Tinubu's government in the last 80 days, with these reforms, there have been consequences. We've witnessed the removal of subsidies and effort to unify the exchange rate, and there are consequences already. Can you shed some light on how the administration is actively addressing the potential negative and the negative consequences of these policies?
Thank you so much, Mr. Frank. I think the Tinubu administration is trying its best to make do with a very, very sticky situation. In particular, we see the impact of subsidy discontinuance. And I think I always need to remind Nigerians that Tinubu didn't remove subsidy. Buhari actually removed subsidy because the allocations for subsidy in the 2023 budget were simply not provided for. So Tinubu inherited, as every new government does, a budget that did not have any allocation, for subsidy payments. So what this administration is trying to do is to ensure that marketers have easy access, to petroleum. The ports functioning, imports and the congestion and the whole process of bringing goods, from international sellers of petroleum down to the ports, something that I think the government is ensuring that it takes very seriously. If you recall, from the point at which President Tinubu announced that subsidy had ended, I don't think Nigerians, I don't think we ever had any instances of a shortage of product, which means marketers have had, relatively easy access, to buy petroleum. However, in the recent days, we've seen that this administration is working hard towards, also alleviating the challenges as a result of exchange rate unification. And, this is something that Nigeria has battled with for a very long time. In particular, the monetary policy rate is something that the acting central bank governor, I think in the last MPC meeting, decided to slightly increase because the central bank is convinced that interest rates affect, inflation. I'm not particularly sure if this is obtainable in practice, as research has shown, and economic analysts have also stated that there is an uncertain relationship between monetary policy rates and the inflation rate. So we are still wondering, hoping to see whether or not this thing can work. This monetary policy rate control can work in Nigeria on inflation. But speaking more to the move towards exchange rate unification, the federal government went back to letting the market be governed through the I&E window. However, there appears to
Hello, Viola. Probably lost connection with Viola there. perhaps too early to get this experience. But I was going to ask you, I wanted you to learn so I could follow up with this question. Yes, we get back to the issue of exchange rate in the moment, but let's talk more on the subsidy removal. The president talked about 2 days ago through his spokesperson that he doesn't intend to increase the price of pump fuel out there anymore. At the moment, the fuel perhaps is selling at around more than 600 naira, right? Now 617 or 650 as the case may be. But the concern, therefore, is that why is the president saying that he doesn't intend to increase? So that language, sounds like we're still in the regime of fixing prices for this commodity. What's your take?
I totally agree with you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. So I was going to ask you, can we say that the president is technically reversing the removal of subsidy?
I wouldn't think so. However, I do share your concern regarding the statements of the president. It's concerning where you don't have a minister for petroleum, that you have the president making such statements, and it's also worrying because the effect of Tinubu's statement relating to the removal of subsidy caused a lot of panic in the market.
That's right.
And we are hoping that this administration, learns from the impact of its statements to see that the market will respond sometimes unfavorably to the government's policy stances. I don't think that the current administration wants to reverse the issue of subsidy. It's an expensive, in the Nigerian context and in Nigerian application, rather wasteful application of our precious finances. And this money would be better off, directed elsewhere. The real challenge for Nigeria are 2 things in my view. One is to have a strong, productive base in the country that refines and provides petroleum products. That is the surest way, to move out from this constant dance we have with high and low petroleum prices, with absence of petroleum products. I mean, it stands to reason that for decades, Nigeria has been unable to fully capture, the benefits in refining crude oil locally. Another means is by improving, the ease of doing business in general. One of the reasons why, petroleum or crude oil production is challenging is because of the government regulatory environment. What is the government doing, for businesses that want to go into crude oil refining and, petroleum production? What does the governance and regulatory environment or context look like for them? And where this is uncertain, where this would result in arbitrary use of governance powers by the government, of course, you not have, government, you not have private sector players wanting to invest. You not have international money wanting to invest. So what is the government doing about improving the ease of doing business? Just to, again, to return to your question.
Yes.
I don't think that the president is going to reverse, subsidy discontinuance. It would be too expensive, and it would even require an amendment of the budget. And I'm not sure that is a particularly efficient and effective means, to go back on something that was so painfully removed.